Hi, my name is Zubin.
And I am Kaku. We are part of the Youth and Young Adult Advocacy Program at Choose 180.
We are a space for youth and young adults who have been impacted by the criminal legal system to advocate for systemic change. As youth leaders, we know that the status quo continues to harm and oppress BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and lower income youth in their communities. We find ourselves at a turning point that balances on the fine line between radical change versus complacency. When it comes to our safety and well-being, we know that our communities know best. To create a brighter future, we must invest in programs that are identified by community as equitable, anti-racist, and rehabilitative.
As mayor, will you divest funds from the oppressive law enforcement and criminal and juvenile legal systems in order to invest in community solutions and rehabilitation programs that benefit youth and young adults? Why or why not? And in what ways do you expect to be held accountable by your constituents?
Yes, I am committed to reinvesting in community-based programs that promote actual public safety. Police reform in Seattle has failed. Political promises have gone unkept, and abuse after abuse in the system prove that there is no accountability in the city. As mayor, I will have two very important jobs right away. First, we need to negotiate a new contract, and second, we need to hire a new chief of police. I will only hire a police chief who has shown the leadership we need to hold our police officers accountable, and in return, I will be held accountable to you, to our youth, to the voters, to the community organizations who have fought so hard to reform, as well as the Community Police Commission, a civilian advisory board on reform, of which I am a member. My plan is to create a Department of Public Safety, and zero tolerance for bad cops policy are two baseline requirements that will refocus emergency response. Calls for service need to be centered in community-based solutions and facilitated by those with lived experience rather than law enforcement. A true community-based civilian police force grounded in neighborhood values should never have the need or urge to adopt a regimented militarized method of operation.
No young person should be in a cage, and that is why I support divesting from those programs in our criminal legal system that are harming and traumatizing young people, and instead investing in those community supports that truly create thriving neighborhoods and thriving communities. And that means economic and social and cultural supports. Specifically, we need to be investing in those community organizations that provide pathways to restorative justice, that provide mental health treatment. We need to be making sure that every single young person has access to stable housing and food. We need to be ending the school to prison pipeline. And finally, we need to be committing to zero gun violence. Gun violence is preventable, and we all need to be treating it as the public health crisis that it is. And as mayor, I commit to zero gun violence.
With respect to juvenile justice, this is where I hope the voters really take a granular look at the different candidates. I believe I'm the only candidate that's actually defended youth in the juvenile center when unlawfully charged, cross-examined police officers fighting for justice for those unlawfully accused of crimes. I'm going to bring that kind of tenacity and commitment into City Hall. I don't say defund the police, because what I do say is we will look at every opportunity where a gun and badge is not needed. We will look for new opportunities to reimagine and recreate a police department. But we want an optimal, effective police department. We're going to change the culture. I've been in Seattle. The city raised me. I've been in Seattle my entire life. I am held accountable by everywhere I go. I go to the coffee shop. I go to the voters. I've won 3 elections. I look forward to being held accountable, because as mayor, I make no excuses. The buck stops with me. And that's the kind of attitude I will have in every aspect of leading this great city.
100% I will divest. I am the only candidate who has continued the call for defunding SPD by at least 50% from what their high budget was just a year ago. And the reason for that is that I was a part of the King County Equity Now coalition and recognized the work and the long push that groups like Choose 180, like Decriminalize Seattle, like No New Youth Deal have been doing for many years. It is something that community has been asking for a long time. And so I recognize that as a candidate and as someone who wants to be mayor, that we need to actually do the things that we have been asking for. Choose 180 is a great example of a program that is providing true public safety that we simply need to invest in and expand. That is how we create programs and even just allow our youth to be able to benefit. With accountability, it is really about just like coming and showing up. I am someone who wants to bring back transparency, honesty, accountability, and trust into the mayor's office because currently those things are lacking.
Any conversation about public safety, I think, needs to start with a value statement. And that is, every person in Seattle, no matter the color of your skin or the zip code you live in, needs to be able to walk down the street and feel safe. And the truth is, that's not the case today. I know we can do better. And it starts with reshaping how we approach law enforcement and really look at it from a community safety model. We need to be supporting organizations that are in community, helping them scale up so they can be an alternative to an armed police response to a 911 crisis call. That's one place we start. The second is we got to move more 911 calls away from a police officer response and support programs like Health One and others. Make sure services and counselors and other folks who are more appropriately trained to respond to that situation be available. But I think it's a conversation that has to happen in community, in partnership with community, and we have to be willing to get rid of the status quo.